Otakus, welcome back to my channel. We are back for yet again another top 10. So today we are reading 10 Pokemon trainers who are worse than they look. Again, these are not my opinions, it's just what I'm reading. So don't come at me. Okay, just having trouble scrolling. There are a lot of different trainers and gym leaders in one can face throughout Pokemon, both in games and in the anime series. Most of them are set up to appear as if they're impressive Pokemon trainers who have successfully managed to defeat their gyms for some time, or are trainers that the protagonists meet along the way and pose a particular challenge to overcome. But in a lot of these cases, the trainers aren't even worth their salt, as they're easily beaten or show themselves to be relatively unimpressive in other ways, even if the players of the game or viewers of the anime are supposed to understand them as being powerful. Number 10. Giovanni is the big boss of goofy villains and is fairly easy to defeat. Giovanni is the big bad guy of Pokemon and the leader of Team Rocket. Throughout most of the anime, viewers begin to understand Team Rocket not as a formidable antagonist, but as a set of goofy villains that can't pull off any of their plans. But in the games, Giovanni appears to be a secret gym leader in the Viridian Gym, and despite this setup as a boss, he's actually a fairly easy character to defeat. Number 9. Clement is a gym leader who leaves most of the battling to his Clembot invention. Clement is the gym leader of Lumio City's gym, so it's actually something of a surprise that he's actually not as great as a trainer, but he also doesn't handle most of his battles on his own in the gym, having built something called a Clembot to take care of them for him, as he's more invested in inventing than training. Still, when he leaves Lumio City to travel with Ash, it is surprisingly how low his win rate is. Really? You had to get into my drawer. You fucking weirdo. My cat got into my closed drawer. Number 8. Bruno's Elite Four member who can't handle psychic types. I was gonna say physic types, Jesus. Bruno is a member of the Indigo Elite Four, which implies that he is a rather strong Pokemon trainer. He's a fighting type trainer, and in Pokemon Red and Blue, in which he debuts, this means that almost all of his Pokemon are very susceptible to attacks from psychic type Pokemon, which are generally considered one of the stronger types in the series. Facing off with Bruno with psychic types makes him completely unable to win, making his status as a member of Elite Four seem less important. Number 7. Falkner and his Pidgeot were too predictable for Ash and Charizard. Falkner is actually a great example of a specific mistake that a trainer can make during battle. He fights with pretty impressive Pokemon when Ash faces him for the Violet City Gym Badge. In particular, he uses a Pidgeot, which is a tough Pokemon to go up against as it's a final form of Pidgey. While Ash and Charizard struggle against the Pidgeot, they're ultimately able to defeat it due to its predictable fight patterns, something a better trainer might have been able to avoid. Number 6. Nolan's legendary Articuno lost to Ash's unobedient Charizard. Considering that Nolan's partners up with an Articuno in the Pokemon anime, it seems likely that he's a pretty powerful Pokemon trainer. Using legendary Pokemon is no walk in the park. They are very powerful and therefore difficult to train. But despite this, Ash's Charizard, which at the time was still not listening to him, managed to pull off a win against an Articuno. This would be nearly impossible in the game, as it seems as only a weak trainer would have let this happen. It's so funny to see that there's been so many Pokemon trainers that have legendary Pokemon, and somehow Ash and his Pikachu just fucking beat their ass. It's just like, bro, either you had no training of your legendary Pokemon and you're that fucking weak, or Ash's Pikachu is just OP. Number 5. Ash Ketchum often doesn't have control over his own Pokemon. Yeah, I mean, that is true. He might be the main character of the series, but Ash is not necessarily a good Pokemon trainer. Sure, he wins most of his battles that he participates in, but a lot of his success comes from losing first or using the knowledge and wisdom of the trainers he's befriended and tried to get a win. His Pokemon don't always listen to him and sometimes outright break the rules, which don't seem to like that they're led by a great trainer. It's hilarious. Number 4. Misty doesn't battle often despite having experience as a gym leader. Yeah, that is kind of noticeable. When Ash meets Misty in Pokemon, she is acting as gym leader for Cerulean Gym. So safe to assume that she has some notable skills as a trainer. But after leaving the gym in order to travel around the Kanto and Johto regions with Ash, she doesn't actually battle all that much, which is surprising for someone who has a history of being a gym leader. History as a gym leader. What's more, in the few occasions she has battled, she only pulls wins about half the time. Number 3, Gary Oak retires as a trainer and becomes a Pokemon researcher. Gary Oak is probably a surprising addition to the list. He's Ash's main rival throughout the series as the two grow up together and become competitive from a young age. And compared to Ash, his accomplishments have been pretty impressive. But Gary's actually rarely seen in winning battles in the series, and he actually retires from training in favor of becoming a Pokemon researcher almost immediately after losing to Ash, which makes him seem like the poor sporter on top of being a somewhat unsuccessful trainer. Number 2, Dawn doesn't have the highest skill in battle or win rate in contests. Yikes! Roasted. I mean, they ain't fucking wrong. She cries almost all the damn time. Not saying that losing is fun, but Jesus. As one of the main characters in the Pokemon anime, one might expect that Dawn does pretty well for herself as a Pokemon trainer. Her abilities as a trainer are far more focused on being a Pokemon coordinator, where she enters Pokemon in contests. Both her skills in battle and her win rate in Pokemon contests aren't as high as one might expect, though she definitely gets stronger and more determined as the series continues. And number 1, May doesn't stand a chance against anyone with more experience. May, as another person that regularly travels with Ash in the Pokemon anime, is also a surprisingly weak trainer in battle. She is slightly better at winning her battles than Dawn, but she still only averages wins about half the time. While she can hold her own against other young trainers, especially those around the same level as herself, she is immediately out of her depth with anyone who is even slightly more experienced than her. That's fucking hilarious. Like how it's just mostly the main fucking characters, too. That's hilarious. Anyways, let me know your opinions down in the description of who you think is the worst Pokemon trainer. Once again, these are not my opinions, although some of them are pretty obvious and are pretty true. But, yeah, let me know what you think down in the comments, and if you're new to my channel, be sure to hit the subscribe button and give me a thumbs up, and hit the bell so you know when I find videos, which is every Wednesday. I love you guys, and I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.